Attorney Jon Tunheim. Well, good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here to talk to you this afternoon. I've visited this club many times to make up meetings. It's a nice, convenient walk over here from the courthouse. And so I used to come over here and make up meetings once in a while. I know so many of you. It's a very familiar place for me to be. I do have 4 active sons, and as a matter of fact, one of those sons went to the Steamboat Island preschool. We reside out on Steamboat Island, so I was glad to see that Steamboat Island preschool is getting a little money from this club. And I happen to be the charities president for our club, and as a little side note, there might be some more money headed your way for that project. Stay tuned. All right. So today what I'd like to do is just give you a little bit of an overview of the prosecutor's office and maybe just prosecution generally. Talk a little bit about the role of the prosecuting attorney and the role that it performs in criminal justice and really how it's changed over the many years that this country has been in existence and continues to change even now with new challenges that come before us, some of which on the civil end were named by Justice Alexander, and some on the criminal side where we see all kinds of new things coming in the door every day. The prosecuting attorney in the United States is actually a very unique government official, if you will, when you look worldwide. In the world, most prosecuting authorities are not actually local elected officials. They're actually not in the executive branch of government. Most of them are appointed by courts. They exist as a member of the judicial branch of government. But in the United States, there's a very deliberate decision to make the prosecuting attorney a local elected official. And that actually occurred before the United States separated from England, and the earliest evidence of the local prosecutor is a proclamation in Connecticut in 1704. I'm going to read you that proclamation because I think it's an interesting job description, if you will, of what the first prosecuting attorney was like. This was the first local public prosecutor. The proclamation read as follows: henceforth there shall be in every county a sober, discreet, and religious person appointed by the county court to be attorney for the Queen, to prosecute and plead in the law all criminals, and to do all other things necessary or convenient as an attorney to suppress vice and immorality. So there you go. There's the job description of the first prosecuting attorney. Sober, discreet, and religious most of the time, and suppress vice and immorality. So that gives you a little sense of what we do. The prosecuting attorney, though, historically in the role of the law and justice system was really a reactive player kind of behind the scenes in law enforcement. We were very much case processors. So law enforcement would investigate a case, they'd put a case together, maybe make an arrest, whatever the case might be, send that case to the prosecuting authority. And the prosecuting authority, the prosecuting attorney, or as it's in some other states called the state's attorney, or the district attorney is a very common name for it, would look at it, make a decision about what charges are to be filed, if any, is there enough evidence to go forward. If there is, they file the charge, do the legal work necessary for the prosecution, make recommendations to the court, in some instances on punishment if there is conviction, and just had that real case processing role. It was a very reactive role. And then in the late 1960s, early 1970s, something came along that really changed the American culture in terms of criminal behavior. And anybody want to take a shot at what that might have been? Drugs. Drugs, yeah. completely changed the way that we as law enforcement officials had to look at crime. Because crime was now being driven by something that was different than any other motive before, and that is addiction. And so from that, the prosecutor's role has really been required to evolve now to much more of a proactive role, a much more strategic role, if you will, in not only just the enforcement of law, but also the prevention of crime. And so I'm going to talk about some of the things going on in this county, not only around enforcement, but around prevention and how we react to some of these new current trends in crime. I do want to tell you just a little bit about our office, the Prosecuting Attorney's Office in Thurston County. Our budget this year is about $8.1 million, so we're just under 10% of the general fund, not 10% of the county budget, but just under 10% of the general fund. And as you heard, we have 30 lawyers in the office, about 35 staff. Our personnel budget accounts for about 85% of our budget, roughly, is just in our people. And about 10% of our budget is the so-called overhead, the cost for our building, our telephone, our computer systems, all of those things that we use to function. And then we've got about 5% of the budget that is quote-unquote discretionary. And that's what pays for all of the other things that are needed to run a law office of the size that we have. So that's what pays for the copiers and the paper and the pencils and the electronic equipment that we use in the courtroom, experts when we need experts, all of those kinds of things. So when you hear in county government and state government, when the budget cuts are coming, the first thing you hear about is reducing personnel. You know why? Because a substantial part of the budget, in fact, is personnel. As you heard, we have a criminal division in the office that is responsible for prosecuting all felony crimes in the county, regardless of whether it occurs in a city or a county. We also have jurisdiction to prosecute all misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors that occur in any unincorporated area of the county. So outside of the jurisdictions of Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater. We actually have a contract to do Tumwater's prosecution, but it's not part of our original authority. And then also the smaller cities like Yelm and Tenino and Rainier have their own prosecuting authority in their city courts. And that's what we cover. We also have, as you heard, a civil division in our office that basically touches every aspect of law you can possibly imagine. Because county government, in some way or another, is usually involved in just about every aspect of law. And that could range from the environmental issues that are currently very much controversial, to bankruptcy, to taxation, to tort litigation, personal injury. We've got a major tax case going that you may have heard about with the Great Wolf Lodge in the Ninth Circuit of the United States Court of Appeals, Ninth Circuit. So we touch just about every aspect of law. And so I'm pretty comfortable in saying that with the exception maybe of the State Attorney General's office, the Prosecuting Attorney's Office is the largest and most diverse law office in the county in terms of its practice and its personnel. Last year, we looked at, and this is 2010, we looked at just over 8,600 criminal cases in this county. Now that's everything together. That's felonies, misdemeanors, gross misdemeanors, actually it also includes juvenile, which I didn't mention. We also have responsibility to prosecute all juvenile offenses in the county, regardless of whether they come out of the cities or in the unincorporated area. And of those 8,600 cases, we filed a little over 6,000 criminal cases last year. So it gives you a little bit of a sense of the caseload that goes through our office. I think some people are surprised to hear that it's really those kinds of numbers going through the prosecuting attorney's office. Now, I want to make some observations around, and I'm going to focus primarily on the criminal side of the office today. And I want to make some observations for you about what I think are the three biggest influences right now in the criminal justice system.